Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship and watched Earth spin slowly below. The blue planet looked peaceful from here. His small fleet of 20 ships moved in their daily patrol around the human home world. To anyone watching, it looked like humanity was still trapped in one small corner of the galaxy. That was exactly what Jake wanted them to think. He touched a button on his wrist. A tiny blue light blinked twice. The message was simple but important. Everything was going according to plan. The aliens still believed humans were weak and harmless. They had no idea what humanity had really been doing for the past 300 years. On Mars, Dr. Amy Carter worked in her lab. The red planet's research station looked old and simple from the outside. Inside, Amy pretended to study basic metal samples. When alien visitors came to check on human progress, she showed them primitive experiments. She acted like humanity was still learning how to work with simple materials. But Amy had another job. Late at night, when the aliens were gone, she used hidden equipment to talk with human colonies scattered across the galaxy. These colonies were humanity's greatest secret. They were building an empire that no alien race knew about. The real center of human power was not on Earth or Mars. It was a massive space station called New Geneva, hidden in a star system far from alien space. Commander Ryan Fletcher ran operations from this secret capital. The station was huge, bigger than any city on Earth. It held millions of people who had never been seen by alien eyes. Ryan looked at the reports coming in from across human space. New factories were online in the Ross system. The shipyards there had just finished building 50 new warships. In the Wolf system, scientists were creating new computer minds that could think faster than any alien technology. The Gliese colonies were testing weapons that could punch holes through the strongest alien armor. All of this was possible because of one man's discovery. Ben Torres had been working in secret labs under the ice of Titan when he found the answer to humanity's biggest problem. How could they travel between stars without the aliens knowing about it? Ben had solved it with something he called quantum fold technology. It let human ships jump instantly from one star to another without leaving any trace that alien sensors could find. The energy signature was so small that alien computers thought it was just background noise from SpaceDot. With this technology, humanity had built a network of gates that connected 47 star systems. Each system had been carefully chosen. They were all far from alien trade routes and patrol areas. The aliens had marked these systems as empty and worthless. They never bothered to check them. Dr. Lisa Monroe sat in her small office on Earth. To the aliens who walked past her door every day, she was just another human scientist working on boring projects. They saw her studying old books and writing simple reports. What they did not know was that Lisa was the head of human intelligence operations. Lisa had agents working on 12 different alien worlds. These agents looked like normal humans doing normal jobs. Some worked in alien factories. Others cleaned alien buildings or served food in alien restaurants. The aliens barely noticed them. Humans were considered too simple to be dangerous. But these agents were gathering information all the time. They listened to alien conversations. They watched alien military movements. They copied alien computer files when no one was looking. All of this information came back to Lisa, who put it together like pieces of a puzzle. The picture that emerged made Lisa smile. The aliens thought humans were still stuck in their home system, struggling with basic technology. They believed humanity would need at least another 1,000 years to become a real spacefaring race. The aliens felt so safe that they often talked about human limitations right in front of human workers. This was perfect for humanity's plans. While the aliens relaxed and ignored the humans, humanity was building something amazing. Each hidden colony had a special job. The Ross system built warships in massive factories hidden inside asteroids. The Wolf system created artificial mines that could control entire fleets of ships. The Gliese colonies tested new weapons. Armor Captain Matt Reynolds commanded the hidden fleet from his flagship in deep space. His ship was just one of over 800 vessels that made up humanity's secret navy. Each ship was more advanced than anything the aliens had ever built. They used new metals that were stronger than alien armor. They carried weapons that could fire faster and hit harder than alien guns. Matt often wondered what would happen when the aliens finally learned the truth. For now, humanity was safe in the shadows. But that would not last forever. Someday, something would go wrong. Someone would make a mistake. The secret would come out. When that day came, humanity would be ready. They had spent 3 centuries preparing for it. They had built an empire in the darkness between the stars. They had created technology that would surprise their enemies. Most importantly, they had learned to work together as one people with one goal. The aliens thought they were watching over weak and primitive species. They had no idea they were actually looking at the next great power in the galaxy. Humanity had grown strong in the shadows. Soon they would step into the light. Jake Morrison looked out at the stars and smiled. Let the aliens think what they wanted to think. Let them believe humans were harmless and slow. The longer they believed the lie, the stronger humanity would become. And when the truth finally came out, it would change everything. Captain Alex Hunt was drinking his morning coffee when the emergency message arrived. He was sitting in his small office on Earth's orbital station, reading boring reports about supply shipments. The message made him drop his cup. A Confederation patrol ship had found something in the Vega system, something that should not be there. The patrol ship was called Hegemony, and its crew had discovered pieces of a destroyed human vessel floating in space. This was very bad news. The Vega system was supposed to be empty. According to all official records, no humans had ever been there. It was too far from Earth for human ships to reach. At least, that was what the aliens believed. In reality, Vega was one of humanity's secret colonies. Someone had made a terrible mistake. Alex grabbed his communicator and sent coded messages to 3 different people. The cleanup had to happen fast, before more alien ships arrived. He tried to stay calm, but his hands were shaking. 300 years of careful planning could be destroyed if they did not handle this right. On the hidden world of Haven Prime, Governor Kate Sullivan was having her own crisis. She had just received a report from Nick Adams, one of humanity's best spies. Nick had spent 10 years working inside the Confederation Science Council. He looked like a simple human translator, but he was actually gathering vital intelligence. Nick's latest message was terrifying. The Zephyrians, one of the most advanced alien races, had started building new sensor arrays. These sensors were different from anything they had made before. They could detect the energy signatures that human quantum fold drives left behind. Kate read the message 3 times, hoping she had misunderstood something. She had not. The Zephyrians were getting suspicious. They had noticed strange energy readings in star systems that were supposed to be empty. They were starting to ask questions. She sent an immediate warning to all human colonies. Every ship with a quantum fold drive needed to be extra careful. One detected jump could expose the entire network of hidden worlds. Dr. Claire Morgan was working in her lab on Mars when she discovered another problem. Claire studied alien biology, which meant she had to read a lot of alien reports. Most of them were boring scientific papers. But today she found something that made her blood run cold. The Tari, a proud warrior species, had been conducting secret surveys of star systems near their territory. They were looking for new worlds to claim as hunting grounds. The problem was that some of these systems contained human colonies. Claire pulled up a map on her computer screen. Red dots showed where the Tari had been exploring. Blue dots showed human settlements. There were far too many places where red and blue dots were close together. The Tari were bound to find human colonies soon. She tried to contact the colony on Kepler 442b, but there was no answer. That was strange. The colony always maintained radio contact. Claire felt a sick feeling in her stomach. Maybe the Tari had already found something. Back in the Vega system, Commander Sam Parker was leading a desperate mission. His job was to collect all evidence of human activity before more alien ships arrived. His team of 12 specialists worked as fast as they could, gathering every piece of metal and electronic component they could find. Sam's ship was designed to be invisible to most alien sensors. It used special coatings and energy dampeners to hide from detection. But as they worked, his sensor operator noticed something bad. "Commander, we have incoming ships," the operator said. 3 vessels, Tari design. Sam cursed quietly. The Tari were excellent warriors and very suspicious by nature. If they found humans cleaning up a crash site, they would ask difficult questions. "How long until they arrive?" Sam asked. 15 minutes, sir." Sam looked at the debris field around them. His team had only collected about half of the wreckage. There were still pieces floating in space that clearly came from human technology. The Tari would recognize them immediately. "Prepare for contact," Sam ordered. "We might have to fight our way out." When the Tari ships arrived, they found Sam's vessel floating near the debris. The Tari captain, a fierce warrior named Vexval, demanded to know what the humans were doing. Their Sam tried to explain that they had detected an old signal and came to investigate. It was a weak story, but it was the best he could do. Vexval was not convinced. His warriors began scanning the wreckage with their own equipment. What they found made everything worse. The debris contained metals that were not used in normal human technology. The energy readings showed that this ship had been using advanced drives. Most damaging of all, the ship's computer core contained star charts showing dozens of systems that humans were supposedly too primitive to reach. On Earth, Dr. Grace Williams received an emergency coded message while she was giving a tour to Ku. Alien visitors. She was showing them humanity's primitive research projects, pretending that humans were still learning basic science. The message was hidden in what looked like a routine supply order. The Confederation Council had called an emergency session. They wanted to discuss anomalous activities in unexplored sectors of space. All member species were required to send representatives for questioning. Grace smiled at her alien guests and continued the tour, but inside she was panicking. The Confederation was starting to put the pieces together. They had found evidence of human activity in systems where humans should not be able to go. They were asking questions that would be very hard to answer. The carefully built lie was falling apart. For 3 centuries, humanity had hidden in the shadows, building their secret empire while pretending to be weak and primitive. Now their enemies were starting to see the truth. Grace knew that humanity had always planned for this day. They had weapons and ships ready for war. They had colonies that could defend themselves. They had been preparing for the moment when their secret would be discovered. That moment was coming very soon. The shadows that had protected humanity for so long were fading away. Soon, the galaxy would see humans as they really were. The question was whether humanity was ready for what would happen next. The investigation began on a cold Tuesday morning. Captain Dan Foster straightened his uniform and walked into the massive Confederation building on Earth. He was humanity's official representative to the alien government, but today he felt more like a criminal being called to court. Dan had been chosen for this job because he was good at lying while seeming honest. For 15 years, He had sat in boring meetings with aliens, nodding and smiling while they talked about human limitations. Today would be the hardest test of his career. Investigator Prime Zalfara was waiting for him in a white room with no windows. She was from the hegemony species, which meant she looked like a tall, thin human with gray skin and 4 arms. Her people were known for being very good at finding secrets. Captain Foster, Zalfara said in her cold voice, "We need to discuss recent events in the Vega system." Dan sat down and tried to look confused. Vega? I am not sure I understand. That system is far outside human space. That is what makes this interesting, Zalfara replied. She activated a holographic display that showed pieces of the destroyed ship. These components are clearly of human origin. Can you explain how they came to be in a system your people cannot reach? Dan studied the images carefully. He recognized the technology, but he could not let that show on his face. These could be very old pieces, he said slowly. Maybe from an early probe we sent out centuries ago? It was a weak explanation, but it was all he had. Zalfara did not look convinced. While Dan was being questioned, Dr. Emma Rodriguez was facing her own tribunal. She sat in a large chamber filled with alien scientists from a dozen different species. They all wanted to know about human technology development. Emma was officially listed as a junior researcher, but she was actually the head of humanity's stealth technology division. She had spent 20 years perfecting the systems that kept human ships invisible. Now she had to pretend she barely understood basic physics. Dr. Rodriguez, said a Zephyrian scientist whose name she could not pronounce, our records show that human ships have been detected using unusual energy signatures. Can you explain this? Emma put on her best confused expression. I am sorry, but I do not understand. Human ships use very simple fusion drives. We have not developed anything more advanced. The lies came easily after years of practice, but Emma could see that some of the aliens were becoming suspicious. The Zephyrian kept asking detailed questions about quantum mechanics and fold space theory. Emma had to be very careful to seem ignorant without seeming stupid. In the hidden command center on New Geneva, Admiral Luke Harrison was mobilizing the secret fleet. Reports were coming in from across human space. Alien investigation ships were moving toward systems that contained human colonies. The Tari were sending war vessels to demand answers about their territorial claims. Luke looked at the tactical display, showing the positions of over 800 human ships. For 3 centuries, these vessels had remained hidden, waiting for the day they might be needed. That day was coming fast. How many ships can we deploy without revealing our full strength? Luke asked his operations chief. Maybe 200, came the reply. Any more, and the aliens will realize how large our fleet really is. Luke nodded grimly. 200 ships might not be enough if the aliens decided to attack, but showing more would reveal that humanity was much stronger than anyone suspected. Commander, Jill Thompson was having the worst day of her life. Her mission was to remove all evidence of human activity from the Outer Rim colonies before alien investigators arrived. She had successfully evacuated 3 settlements, but the 4th colony presented a terrible problem. The robotic species called the Nexus had been watching the colony for weeks. Their scout drones had recorded everything. Jill's team could destroy the colony buildings, but they could not erase the Nexus memory banks without starting a war. Commander, what are your orders? Asked her second in command. Jill stared at the Nexus ships through her view screen. The robots were known for sharing information with anyone who paid them enough. If they sold their surveillance data to the Confederation, humanity's secret would be completely exposed. We wait, she said finally. Maybe we can make a deal with them. Dr. Magan Cross was making the discovery of her lifetime in the Proxima Research Station, but she could not enjoy it. Her breakthrough research into Confederation technology could change the balance of power in the galaxy. But Zephyrian scout drones were circling her station like hungry sharks. Megan had learned how to read the quantum signatures that all alien ships produced. More importantly, she had figured out how to jam them. This technology could make human ships completely invisible to alien sensors, but only if she could finish her work. The problem was that the Zephyrian drones were getting closer every day. They had not attacked yet, but they were clearly studying the station. Megan knew they were trying to figure out what the humans were doing inside. She worked 18 hours a day, racing to complete her research before the drones decided to take action. Her team was exhausted, but they understood what was at stake. This technology could save humanity's secret empire, or it could die with them if the Zephyrians attacked. Back on Earth, Captain Dan Foster finished his third day of questioning. Zalthara had asked him the same questions dozens of different ways, trying to catch him in a lie. Don had stuck to his story, but he could see that the investigator was running out of patience. Captain Foster, Zalthara said as their session ended, I want you to know that this investigation will continue. We will find the truth about human activities, with or without your cooperation. Dan nodded politely and left the room. But his hands were shaking. The aliens were not going to give up. They had found too much evidence to ignore. Soon, they would demand access to human space stations and research facilities. When that happened, the secret would be impossible to hide. That evening, Dan sent a coded message to Admiral Harrison. The message was short but clear. The masquerade is ending. Prepare for revelation. All across human space, the message was received and understood. The time of hiding was almost over. Soon, humanity would have to step out of the shadows and face the galaxy as they really were. The question was whether they were ready for what would happen next. The investigation was deepening, but so was humanity's resolve. They had built an empire in secret. Now they would have to defend it in the light. The masquerade died on a Wednesday morning, when the Tari made their biggest mistake. Captain Chris Bailey was having breakfast on his battlecruiser in the Kepler system when the attack began. His ship was disguised as a simple mining station, just like dozens of other human facilities scattered across the galaxy. The Tari had no idea what they were really attacking. 3 Tari warships dropped out of hyperspace without warning. Their leader, War Chief Corval, sent a threatening message to what he thought was a helpless human outpost. Surrender your facility, Corval demanded. This system belongs to Tari hunting grounds. You will leave immediately or be destroyed. Chris looked at his tactical display. The Tari ships were old but well armed. Against a real mining station, they would have been devastating. Unfortunately for them, Chris was commanding the HSS Defender, one of humanity's most advanced warships. All hands to battle stations, Chris ordered quietly. Remove the camouflage. Show them what we really are. The mining station's outer shell split apart like a flower opening. Beneath the disguise was a sleek warship bristling with weapons that should not have existed. The Tari ships suddenly found themselves facing technology that was centuries ahead of anything they had seen. Chris tried to avoid the fight. He opened a communication channel and spoke calmly to the Tari commander. War Chief Corval, you have made an error. This is not a mining station. Please withdraw your ships, and no one needs to be hurt. But the Tari were proud warriors who could not back down from a challenge. Corval saw only 1 human ship against 3 Tari vessels. The numbers looked good to him. Impossible, Corval snarled. Humans do not have such ships. This is some kind of trick. The Tari opened fire with everything they had. Plasma bolts and missile salvos struck the defender's shields, which absorbed the attacks like raindrops hitting a steel wall. Chris shook his head sadly. He had hoped to avoid this. Return fire, Chris ordered. Disable their engines only. Try not to destroy them. The defenders' weapons were precise and deadly. Quantum pulse beams cut through Tari armor like paper. In less than 30 seconds, all 3 enemy ships were floating helpless in space. Their engines were gone, but their crew quarters were untouched. Problem was that one of the Tari ships had been recording everything. The battle footage automatically transmitted to the Tari home fleet before the ship was disabled. Within hours, the recording was spreading through Confederation communication networks. Ambassador Beth Morgan was in her office on the Confederation capital world when the emergency call started. Every alien species in the galaxy wanted to know the same thing. How did humans have such advanced warships? Beth had spent 20 years as humanity's official representative to the galactic government. She was an expert at making humans seem harmless and primitive, but there was no way to explain away the battle footage. The entire galaxy had seen a human ship destroy 3 Tari vessels with technology that should not exist. Her communication screen lit up with incoming calls from dozens of different species. The hegemony demanded immediate explanations. The Zephyrian Collective wanted detailed technical specifications. Smaller species wondered what other secrets the major powers were hiding. Beth knew that the time for lies had ended. She sent an emergency message to Earth using the Quantum Fold communication network. The message was simple. The secret is out. What are my orders? Admiral Jake Morrison received Beth's message while he was meeting with the Earth Defense Council. For 3 centuries, humanity had planned for this moment. They had always known that someday their secret would be discovered. Now that day had come. Jake made the most important decision in human history. Instead of trying to maintain the lie, he chose to reveal everything. If humanity was going to be exposed, they would control how the revelation happened. Send a message to the Confederation Assembly, Jake ordered. Request an emergency session. Tell them humanity has an announcement to make. 2 days later, representatives from every species in the galaxy gathered in the Great Assembly Hall. Beth Morgan stood at the center podium, knowing that her next words would change galactic civilization forever. Honored delegates, Beth began, humanity has something important to share with the galaxy. She activated a holographic display that showed the true extent of human space. 47 star systems lit up on the galaxy map. Each one contained thriving human colonies, advanced technology, and powerful defensive fleets. The silence in the assembly hall was complete. Even the air recycling systems seemed to stop working. Every alien in the room stared at the display in shock. For 300 years, Beth continued, humanity has been expanding into unexplored space. We built these colonies in systems that were marked as empty and worthless. We developed new technology to avoid detection. We created this network in secret because we feared how other species might react. The explosion of angry voices was immediate. The hegemony representative demanded to know why humans had deceived the galaxy. The Zephyrian delegate calculated that humanity now controlled nearly 8% of known space. Smaller species wondered if their own territory was safe from human expansion. Admiral Morrison appeared on the communication screen from Earth. His image was broadcast to every world in the Confederation. Humanity chose secrecy over conquest. He said in a calm voice, "We could have revealed ourselves as conquerors. Instead, we chose to build our civilization in empty space, bothering no one." To prove his point, Morrison authorized a demonstration of human capabilities. The hidden fleet revealed itself across dozens of star systems. Over 800 advanced warships appeared on sensors throughout the galaxy. Each ship was more powerful than anything the aliens had imagined humans could build. The demonstration had its intended effect. Some species were impressed by humanity's restraint. If humans had wanted to conquer the galaxy, they clearly had the power to do so. But they had chosen peaceful expansion instead. Other species saw only a threat. The Tari viewed the deception as a dishonor that demanded blood payment. The hegemony worried about the balance of power shifting away from the established order. The Zephyrian collective began calculating whether humanity represented a challenge to their supremacy. Battle lines started forming as the galaxy tried to process this new reality. Ancient alliances shifted as species chose sides. Some supported humanity's right to expand peacefully. Others demanded that the secret empire be dismantled. The shadows that had protected humanity for 3 centuries were gone forever. Now they faced the galaxy in the full light of truth. The question was whether that truth would bring peace or war. The war began exactly 1 week after humanity's revelation. Admiral Luke Harrison was drinking coffee in his command center when the warning came in. A combined fleet of Tarai and hegemony ships was moving toward human space. They were coming to blockade Earth and force humanity to give up their secret colonies. Luke had been preparing for this moment his entire career. He activated the emergency protocols that would bring the hidden fleet out of the shadows. All across the galaxy, human ships received the same message. Operation Daybreak is now active. Defend human space. Captain Matt Reynolds was the first to respond. His flagship, the HSS Liberty, had been hiding in an asteroid field near the Wolf system. As soon as he received Luke's message, he powered up his engines and headed for Earth. Behind him came a fleet of 200 warships that the aliens had never seen before. The enemy coalition was larger than expected. War Chief Corval had convinced 12 Tari clan fleets to join his cause. The hegemony had sent their enforcement armada, claiming that humanity had violated galactic law by hiding their expansion. Together, they brought nearly 400 ships to the battle, but Admiral Morrison was ready for them. He stood on the bridge of his command ship as the enemy fleet dropped out of hyperspace near Earth. The aliens expected to find a small, frightened human defense force. Instead, they found themselves facing the most advanced military technology in the galaxy. The battle began when the Tari demanded that humanity surrender immediately. Morrison's response was calm but firm. "This is Admiral Morrison of the Earth Defense Force. You are in violation of human territorial space. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences." Corval laughed at the warning. His sensors showed human ships, but they looked smaller and weaker than his Tari battle cruisers. He could not detect the advanced stealth systems and energy shields. That made human vessels nearly indestructible. "Attack!" Corval ordered. "Show these lying humans the price of deception." The alien fleet opened fire with everything they had. Plasma cannons, particle beams, and fusion missiles filled space with deadly energy. The humans absorbed the attack without taking any serious damage. Their shields glowed briefly, then returned to normal as if nothing had happened. Morrison waited until the enemy barrage ended, then gave his orders. "All ships return fire. Target their engines and weapons only. We are not here to commit genocide." What happened next shocked the watching galaxy. Human ships fired weapons that moved faster than light itself. Quantum pulse beams struck enemy vessels with surgical precision, disabling their engines and weapons without destroying their crew quarters. In less than 5 minutes, half the enemy fleet was floating helpless in space. Captain Ben Torres deployed his secret weapon during the second wave of attacks. His ship carried quantum fold mines that could appear anywhere in the star system. Without warning, enemy ships found themselves surrounded by explosives that had materialized from nowhere. Dr. Grace Williams watched the battle from her research station and activated humanity's point defense network. Thousands of tiny automated guns emerged from hidden positions throughout the solar system. They created a web of protective fire that made it impossible for enemy missiles to reach their targets. The turning point came when Commander Sam Parker led a boarding action against a hegemony command ship. His Marines wore powered armor that made them stronger and faster than any alien warrior. They captured the enemy vessel in 20 minutes without killing a single crew member, but humanity was not fighting alone. Several alien species had chosen to support them after learning about their peaceful expansion. The Vordani, a species of gentle healers, sent medical ships to treat wounded soldiers from both sides. The Merchant Guild continued trading with human colonies, showing that they trusted humanity's intentions. The war reached its climax when the Zephyrian Collective entered the fight. They brought their most advanced dreadnoughts, believing they could crush humanity before the secret empire could fully mobilize. It was the biggest mistake they ever made. Admiral Morrison had been holding back most of the hidden fleet, waiting for this moment. When the Zephyrian ships arrived, he revealed humanity's true strength. Over 3,000 human vessels appeared throughout the solar system, emerging from stealth fields and quantum fold jumps. The Battle of Wolf 359 became the most famous space battle in galactic history. The Zephyrian Collective brought their newest technology, including computers that could think faster than organic minds and weapons that could punch holes through planets. They expected an easy victory against what they thought was a primitive human defense force. Instead, they discovered that humanity had been preparing for this exact scenario for 3 centuries. Human ships used tactics that no alien military had ever seen. They appeared and disappeared like ghosts, striking from unexpected directions and vanishing before the enemy could respond. Dr. Lisa Monroe activated humanity's ultimate secret during the battle. For decades, human agents had been installing hidden defense platforms throughout Confederation space. They looked like ordinary maintenance equipment, but they were actually automated weapon systems. When Lisa gave the activation signal, thousands of these platforms revealed themselves across dozens of star systems. The galaxy suddenly realized that humanity had not been hiding just in empty space. They had been quietly preparing defenses in the heart of alien territory. Human agents had been working among them for generations, installing protective systems that could defend against any attack. The war ended not with humanity's defeat, but with a ceasefire that nobody had expected. The aliens realized they were fighting an enemy that had been preparing for this conflict longer than some species had existed. Humanity had superior technology, better tactics, and the moral advantage of fighting to defend their homes. More importantly, humanity had shown restraint even in victory. They could have destroyed the enemy fleets completely, but they chose to disable them instead. They could have conquered alien worlds, but they chose to defend their own territory. They had proven that their secret expansion was about survival, not conquest. Admiral Morrison stood before the Confederation Assembly one final time as the peace negotiations began. The galaxy had changed forever. Humanity was no longer hiding in the shadows, pretending to be weak and primitive. They had emerged as one of the major powers in galactic civilization. "We never wanted war," Morrison told the assembled delegates. "We wanted only to ensure our survival and growth. We built our empire in empty space because we feared what would happen if we revealed our true capabilities too soon." The peace treaty that followed established humanity as an equal partner in galactic affairs. The secret colonies became official human territory. The hidden fleet took its place alongside other major naval forces. Most importantly, humanity gained the respect that came from proving they could defend themselves without becoming conquerors. As the treaty was signed, Admiral Morrison looked out at the stars through the station's viewports. For 300 years, humanity had grown strong in the darkness between worlds. Now they stood in the light, ready to help shape the galaxy's future. The shadows had served their purpose. Now it was time for humanity to take their rightful place among the stars.